Okay, welcome back. So we're on to the second part of my Honda Accord Tourer review. So if we look inside here, here is the rear boot space of the vehicle. And I'll be honest, coming from like a 2002 Legacy, it's not actually as large. And the culprit here is these excessively large wheel arches. Effectively you're taking away what should be a fairly square space and making into an awkward kind of trapezoid space. And for me, this is okay. For what I have to carry, it's perfectly legitimate. Some people may struggle to fit something like a pushchair, stroller, etc., or kids' bikes in the back here, but for me, it's quite adequate. You're going to get a bigger boot space on something like a Ford Mondeo or even the Toyota Avensis, but I think the Subaru Legacy and Mazda 6, again I keep referring back to those, are going to be roughly the same size. Maybe a bit bigger because of these boot arches. However, I do think the Subaru actually has a slightly, it doesn't go back quite as deep. If we're looking at here though, however, there are a few things which sort of did sell me on it here. So first and foremost, we've got a full-size, that's actually a full-size spare tyre in there, which is pretty good considering the majority of Jap vehicles coming these days have that horrible space over, and we all know that they're, no matter what people say, they're not ideal to drive on, and they're really a stopgap solution. I'd like to point out that this particular model I've got is a New Zealand assembled model. It's not a Japanese version. So the benefits with that there are that we don't have a lot of the typical Japanese things like the all the dashboard instrumentation, text is in Japanese, and most obviously is that this has a very nice interior. Now, I don't know what it is about the Japanese models, but they all seem to have this horrific beige velour interior, and if you've tried one of these out, you'll see it. And aside from the velour just absorbing everything, it's actually a pretty disgusting colour. I mean, there's nothing like buying a great looking car on the outside and then just going inside and there's this white and beige velour, which is going to get dirty and marked in ages. Now, a quick preview in here, you're not going to have that with a leather interior. Sure, there's going to be a bit more upkeep, but you're not going to have that problem. So if we go back to the boot space here, we do have storage underneath there. So I've got a few little bits of car peripherals in there and so forth under there. So it's great that you can keep all your bits and pieces in here as well. So there's actually a little bit of room space there. There is a DVD player in the back, but I believe that there is actually for loading the sat navigation DVDs. I don't know how that would actually work. I haven't actually tried playing a DVD on that front part there, so I'm not sure if that works. You do have another storage space on the side there, which is quite good. Just if you can see down there is actually another 12-volt power socket there. We do have sort of connector points here for for strapping stuff in, and for child car seats in the back there. And over in the back here we actually do have a subwoofer, which is part of the premium audio system, as it says, and that was a pleasant surprise to find a vehicle that actually has a pretty good stock sound system. Now, I'll go into this a bit later, but this vehicle actually has speakers in the back there, in the middle and in the front, and I believe it actually has 10 speakers and a subwoofer, so that's pretty impressive for a stock vehicle. And it isn't, I wouldn't say it's the greatest sounding stereo, I mean, obviously if you spend a bit of money you're going to get something better, but for a stock standard car stereo, it is, I would consider, definitely above average. It is a very impressive sound system, which would require no tweaks. You could happily drive it unless you were a big sound enthusiast, and some people may be. But anyway, we also have the boot, front seat, back seats rather. It is a 60-40 split, so you can kind of have part of it down and then have room for one passenger. Some people may not like this, they might find it awkward. I actually think it's kind of a good thing, because it means if you want to put something through there, you can still have one passenger in the back there. And likewise, if you had something, some skis or maybe even a surfboard or something that just needed to go through there, you can still maybe have two passengers in the back there. You've also got the old luggage rack there, or tonneau as they call that thing. I'm not sure if it's 100% right thing, but again, good for covering up your anything you've got in the back for a bit of privacy. You'd be surprised how many of these vehicles actually don't come with these equipped, so I was very adamant about finding one which had everything kind of equipped on it. So what we're going to do is just close that up there and move it around to the back seats. So again, if we first look in there, you can see there's a pretty decent sized speaker in the door there and on both sides. Now we've got leather seats here in the back, and this is, the leather is pretty bloody good condition on this one here. So again, you've got your controls there for moving the seat forward. You have 3 independent seat belts, including a belt, no lap belts. There is actually a belt in the ceiling which comes down through here. Cup holders in the back are located in here, which is, your basic armrest as well. So I don't know if that's ideal, but again, I'm not likely to use it. I haven't actually been in the back too much. So, great. We have rear air vents in the vehicle here, and when you get in, I'm a guy who's 6 foot, and the seat is far back where I drive it, and I can actually get in this vehicle, and the footwells are a little narrow. I'm wearing fairly solid shoes at the moment, but 4 adults would sit fairly comfortably in here. I think on a long trip I don't think you'd have too much of a problem. 5, it's not going to be super comfortable, but it is entirely manageable. It just depends on how tall your drivers are in front. I think with if you had a shorter driver in front, you'd be fine. If you've got someone like me who is 6 foot, then yeah, well, that's not exactly going to be great. However, there is a fair amount of headroom here, and that's great to for someone like me who can get in and not actually have my head hitting on the ceiling. So again, in the back here, you've got your standard sort of oh shit handles, as I like to refer to them. You've got coat hooks on either side of them, which is great. Your very typical kind of little leather seat backs there. All in all, it's a standard sort of back seat. I will take you into the front of the vehicle now, which is where the majority of things happen and where all the cool stuff is. So I'm going to stop this video here, and we'll move on to part 3.